Welcome, everyone. I'm Donald Weeks, founder and CEO of ClearPath AI and host of the Clinic Efficiency Podcast. Today, we're joined by Lalitha Ramamoorthy, the CEO and co founder of Hikigai Inc. Lalitha, your journey from a deep background in AI and machine learning to founding Hikigai with this mission to bring pragmatic AI solutions to healthcare is truly inspiring. You've clearly identified a critical need in an industry ripe for intelligent information. Welcome, Lalitha.
Thank you very much, Donald. Appreciate
Great.
you having me here.
Thank you. Well, could you give us a little bit about your background and how the idea of Hikigai came about?
Absolutely. So I have my background for the last 3 decades in healthcare, with the niche of nutrition, and I'm a dietitian and a health coach. And that really kind of gravitated my interest into the wellness space. And this all started right around the time of COVID, when we were shut down completely in terms of being able to communicate with people, reaching out to people, and actually counseling them face to face. And at that point, and pretty much before that, it was all full blown face to face conversations with my clients and my patients, and counseling them for hours together. And food is something so personal that you do need that personal touch with them also. That kind of brought me to a predicament of thinking, how are we going to commute? The world's going to change now. We didn't know. We were so ambiguous about the time that was in front of us. That really put me into the perspective of adopting technology as my next, go-to person that would be able to communicate and get through with people. It all started off with little videos that I used to post and talk about wellness and everything that was happening online at that point. I think majority of that engagement happened at that point. And as much as I was trying to shy away from being a technologist or being actively involved in technology and being a hands-on person, just talking and a people's person, I think technology was the biggest aid for me at that point. And that really led to this the speciality of getting into a space where I could actually communicate about wellness and proactive health through technology in the medium of AI at that point. And AI at that point it was spoken about widely, but it was still a very foreign word for many people. And that kind of gave me the time to learn a little bit more about it. And sure enough, the founders of our entire Hikigai group all came from different backgrounds, more so from the technology background for them than I, who actually comes from the healthcare background. And our ideas merged in many sense because we were all looking to bring data together to make the healthcare system more robust and more proactive, and not an open system as it is today, because the siloed effect of having data being procured from different places and not being able to communicate with the patient or the doctor effectively was still the big problem today. And that kind of takes
Absolutely.
the attention of the doctors with the patients. So that gave birth to Hikigai. Hikigai actually is from the Japanese, it's adopted its name from the Japanese philosophy of Ikigai. I always carry this book with me. That's my
Yeah,
book. So Ikigai is actually the purpose of life. And we kind of coined it based on health as the purpose of health, and that we would be a platform that reaches out both to the healthcare professionals to make providing healthcare very efficient for them, and from the patient perspective to receive healthcare more effectively and more efficiently for them. So in a nutshell, Hikigai is basically, or our vision is to be able to provide healthcare in planet scale. And we are an AI agentic platform that actually optimizes workflow and looks at how we're able to engage with our customers. Our B2B is our model right now. So our customers being the physicians, how we're able to reduce their workload, their cognitive burnout in many different aspects, not just tipping it at the tip of the iceberg, but going deeper down into clinical intelligence and further down.
yeah. Well, that's very good. Lalitha, your LinkedIn highlights your passion for operationalizing AI. When did that vision really start to take hold for you, and specifically regarding its application in healthcare settings to drive efficiency?
Well, like I said, since I already had a background with healthcare and I've actually had a very good foundation in terms of building my network, talking to doctors, the operational efficiency was kind of just my engagement to be robust with technology and the aspects of technology. So that COVID gave me that time to be really good at it and strong at it. And I certainly love to interact with people and increase my efficiency in terms of how I talk to people. And I became the face of the company in terms of being able to reach out to the doctors and talking to them and making it more operational and more efficient in terms of getting people to use our platform and use it more effectively. The operational aspects has always been a part of me, I think, even as an entrepreneur when I started my own practice, counseling patients and doing my own private practice. The operational aspect was already existing, just that was existing at a different, real life scenario. And now it's moved on to a startup where it is today.
Well, I was looking at your website and it emphasizes making AI real for healthcare.
Mhm.
What's been the most surprising challenge or perhaps the most unexpected opportunity you've encountered in bridging the gap between cutting edge AI research and practical, impactful implementation within clinics?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. See, especially with so many technologies around, when you're building a technology and app or a technology platform, you're talking about their mindset, thinking about it from the perspective of the engineering, from the perspective of how this is going to be in efficiency. I think one of the biggest roadblocks there is certainly the promises that's been made to the healthcare system in the United States. It's still broken, and it's to a great extent there is a lot of work to be done, and we're still a very reactive healthcare system than a proactive healthcare system. That puts you in a predicament where you're able to not reach out to these doctors or not able to communicate with them because they're already so burnt out and so limited on time that anything more in aspects of technology is almost like a lost dream for them, because they've been promised about this for 20 plus years when the electronic health record systems came into existence, about all the wonderful things that could happen for them, but their eyes are never taken off from the screen and never diverted towards the patients, which is really the pain point today for the patients too, that the doctor isn't looking at me or the doctor isn't, eye to eye with me. So the factor of empathy, the factor of compassion, the factor of the empowerment was quite disrupted at that point when we entered this new technology phase of how AI has already taken its role in ambiently kind of engaging with healthcare system, not realizing it, right? But then slowly and steadily, we have to build that trust for the doctors that, hey, what was promised was probably legacy and still not as efficient because of the speed, at the time at which it was being done, and accuracy at which it's being done. One of the biggest roadblocks in healthcare is you can't just be 90% precise with your information or your data that you're providing. You got to be almost 99.9 or 100%, if anything else, more than 100%, because this is health you're talking big stakes. So one of the big things is definitely the trust factor, to see if this actually works with what engineers build for you and then what is actually being used by a physician. So we have certainly kind of done our homework there in terms of talking to many other physicians, done our market research to ensure that this is not purely only built by engineers, but built with the doctors, keeping them in mind and taking their advices by the engineers. So I sometimes jokingly talk to my engineering team, and we initially had a different name coined for our company too. It was called Health Knowledge Graph, and that was very boring. So, uh, and very very tech based, right? And that kind
Right.
of just didn't trigger the engagement of the doctors or make it more interesting for the doctors. Just that as a simple point is what I'm talking about. But then there is so many other things, Donald, that I totally understand. The physicians today, especially who we are focusing on, are the primary care physicians in the smaller practices. While our competitors are looking at enterprise operations, we are looking at the 1 million primary care physicians who almost are in a lost world today. They may be coming from tier two and tier three states, and places where you're not talking about, big practices, but smaller practices. And they're probably still working out of a human scribe or probably still working out of ledgers of documents that they have. Those are really our customers that we're reaching out to, and we would like to knock the doors for them and say, hey, you know what? We've got a robust platform for you that actually does what we want it to do for you to free your time, starting off with documentation with the AI scribe, and then moving down to being able to do it more efficiently in terms of other things, making it more efficient in terms of the diagnostic tools, making it, but we are not a diagnostic platform. That is why we don't need to get the FDA approval. We only suggest the diagnosis. So we are more of a supported CDSS system. So to summarize that point, I know I kind of built a story over that, but I wanted to bring that into context for you, that trust is one of the most important roadblocks that we've always had, and we're working our way through for that. And the fact that they don't have the time at this point realistically was one of the other things that maybe we're not able to reach out to them yet.
Right, absolutely. Well, yeah, I'm glad you did put that together in a story that we could, relate to and understand a little bit better. But that's very good. You've spoken about the importance of pragmatic AI solutions. Can you elaborate on what that means for Hikigai and how you ensure that your AI tools generally solve the day-to-day operational problems for healthcare providers rather than just adding another layer of complexity?
Sure. Today, AI tools, like I said, are pretty much, ambiently working around healthcare systems in different operations. For the most part, some of the operational tools and the devices are probably one of the most engaged, like in radiology and the MRIs or the detecting the cancers. And there's so much more happening in the large language model space for building large language models for specialties. What Hikigai really is looking at is reducing the time the doctor actually, for the entire life cycle of the patient to the doctor. If it's a 12-minute engagement that they have, the platform can reduce that, cut down that time to almost half the time, maybe around 6 minutes or even lesser now with AI agents, even more efficient. Number one. So our most simplistic first product out of the platform is the AI scribe, which is, the buzzword for 2025. And it was
Sure.
still being talked about so actively. So that's one of the most simplest and free commodity, we call it today, because I think in about 3 or 4 years, you're going to have a dime and a dozen of AI scribes floating out there that you can choose from. That is definitely not where we want to compete, but that's a very simple AI scribe which is offered free. And our free AI scribe is something which delivers the soap notes the way they need to be put together in the format that they need to be, except that we do not do further integration with the electronic medical record system, but we provide that where the doctors or the clinic can actually copy paste it and use it at their convenience. And then we have what's called the AI Scribe Plus, which is our next level of engagement, where we do some amount of customizing or, within the reach of what the doctor asks. And once the doctor is actually using our product, to start off with the AI Scribe free, we're talking about other template additions or, changes that can be made. That's the paid version. Further down, which I did discuss with you, is the clinical intelligence layer, which is really the top of the layer and more deeper into this whole aspect of engagement with the doctor, where it talks about the diagnostic aspects of it, predicting the predictive analytics, giving suggestive diagnosis, where majority of the times not knowing some of the background information about the patient, whether it be information that's gathered from the environment, whether it be information gathered from their tools that they're using, like their phone or their apps, other apps like Google Health or Apple Health, and also a lot of the information that is stored in the electronic medical record system, which the doctor needs to dig deeper into to find out, which we could actually have that piecemealed for him or for her before the doctor even needs to kind of go through multiple screens. So effectively, the Care Pilot is our premium product we're looking at. And that really kind of encompasses the whole life cycle of a doctor's engagement, where it's talking about prescribing the medications, prescribing the labs, prescribing all other tests that need to be done, getting referrals, getting approvals for referrals, also going down to putting the right codes in place for value-based care. We've got all that in place. And the codes, which also kind of brings in a lot of incentive. One of the other thing that I've heard a lot of physicians say is incentivizing what we are providing for them when we're providing an external service. If we don't do that, the doctors are not going to be encouraged to do what they're supposed to do because they're already pressed on time. And if you're not giving them any incentives, whether it be in time or in likes, I think it's not going to be a very encouraging factor. So let's be realistic. Doctors are humans, they're professionals working, and we need to be thinking about them and not putting them in a God figure position, but putting them in a human figure position to be able to
Right.
enable them and efficiently.
Yeah. And I would think also by your system cutting down the time, maybe in half or even more than that, they're able to see more patients. So they get ROI
Yep.
goes up,
Yep.
automatically. So
Yep.
that's a really good incentive in itself
Yep.
for them to
Definitely.
do it.
Definitely. In
Yeah.
fact, one real life scenario of how the efficiency can be improved, I just wanted to quote a story, is one of our patients or one of our doctors was actually seeing a patient for the last 6 months, not being able to clearly diagnose her condition, where she had some autoimmune conditions and not knowing some of the background of where she had been in the last 6 months. Apparently, the lady had actually visited Kentucky and she used to do a lot of hiking, and there was Lyme disease, active Lyme disease, which was something which was never brought into the attention for the doctor, and for the longest time it was all under the wraps and never known to the doctor. But when the location was actually shared or where she was, that surfaced out as a suggestive diagnosis with our platform for Lyme disease, and sure enough it was that, and they were able to kind of bring in some active engagement and treatment for the patient, because both of these do have commonalities with autoimmune diseases and with Lyme disease. And that's really how you're able to surface it. So this is just one example, but if you're able to bring in continuous glucose monitoring or other apps, you can pretty much save lives or reduce the chronic illnesses to worsening, to reduce it from worsening to where it is today, and get the patient at a much earlier stage than getting them more sicker.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the doctor just having that little bit of information that that person went and traveled to this one location where there is Lyme disease, prevalent, that would have helped him tremendously, if he knew
Absolutely.
that up front.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep. So true.
yeah, that's great. Looking at your experience, particularly in the machine learning and data science, how has that deep technical background informed Hikigai's approach to building AI solutions that are not just effective, but also trustworthy and easily integrated into the existing clinic workflows?
Well, I'm not going to be wearing a technologist hat for that question because I think the
Right, I understand.
better answer would be my CTO, but knowing where we have built the product, like I said, we are definitely ahead of the game. We're looking at specific AI agents that can actually individually build all of these features much more robustly and much more faster in the pace that we're building it. And we're looking towards the futuristic approach of autonomic care, where the nervous system, if you think about it, the simplest example is our nervous system, right? There is constantly something going on where there is an engagement of oxygen and there is an engagement and there osmosis going on, or whether there is a parasympathetic nervous system or a sympathetic nervous system that's all working in tandem without any disturbance. Exactly like that is what we're looking to, how this, the current scenario of where AI is put us, and with the technology advancements, we should be able to build a platform that is catering to autonomic healthcare system. That's our future vision for Ikigai, where everything works not just as an episodic care, but it works as a continuous care, where care is not provided just when a patient is at a clinic or seen at a hospital, but the multiple tools or multiple ways or methods of how the doctor or the patient can communicate has this streamlined communication where they can be stopped from worsening many of the conditions that wasn't available to our benefits before we had the technology available. So that's really where Hikigai is in its forefront and looking to advance with all the technology.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, the healthcare industry is constantly evolving. So, thinking short to midterm, what types of signals or metrics are you really honed in on at Hikigai to ensure your solutions are continuously meeting the most pressing needs for clinic efficiency and delivering tangible ROI for your clients?
Well, for one, like I told you, we definitely want to reach out to the personalized medicine and precision medicine, advancing in that direction. That leading us to the autonomic care that we're looking at for healthcare, and more so providing healthcare in a planet scale. The one way that we've built the platform is that it can be replicated to any demographics, not just particularly in the North America, but we're also have a research lab set up in India, for example, which is one of the most diverse populations of the demographics that you can look at, especially when you're building a large language model. We have a research lab associated with a medical and institutional organization that we've already building a large language model. And we are looking to build a large language model exclusive for the Indian diaspora, where you could talk about a very diverse population and a much more complicated healthcare system that being addressed. So with that, I think we are definitely, in the segue of being able to provide healthcare or in a planet scale, and able to do that in a much more efficient fashion. But we would like to focus on, getting our target in place with our clients in customers in um, the US first, get our feet wet well and show that we are a robust platform, and then move on further to doing. Right now we're in the research phase in India, but other places like Middle East or Africa and the Far East are definitely the next target that we're looking for.
Well, Lalitha, as a founder in the AI space, what's one key piece of advice you'd offer to other entrepreneurial leaders who are looking to leverage AI to enhance efficiency in their respective industries, particularly when facing skepticism or resistance from new technology?
This is a great question. Just with my own ideal and my own thinking. Besides the fact that we have technology in place today, I think we definitely. I've seen the world before technology existed, and I've had the fortune of seeing it to appreciate what we are getting into right now. As a founder, and I've always had the entrepreneur gene in me, whether it was today with the startup for Hikigai or before, where I've started my own nonprofit organization or my private practice with being a dietitian. As a founder, the best advice I would give to any entrepreneur coming up in the field, in any field for that matter, is number one, never give up. You're going to be on a roller coaster ride, and sometimes or most of the times you're going to be alone. You have to be ready to always be a student, in my opinion, and always have the adaptability and the capacity to stay resilient in terms of making mistakes. But if you've already made a couple of mistakes in that same pattern, don't be stupid enough to repeat it.
That's correct.
You can do new mistakes, but don't repeat the old again.
Right.
And I
And that's
think
how we learn.
yes, yes. And definitely the resilience, and especially for women in the technology space, we're still not more than a handful, I would say. I would like to see that to be a bigger picture and a bigger number. And I say this to all women entrepreneurs who are out there, or people who want to get into the technology space. I think it is very important that you voice your intelligence and your foresight, and your perspectives are definitely going to add value, because women do bring in a lot of empathy and care factor and emotional intelligence also into a lot of these places. And that is very important, especially when the technology is in place. You still have to look at how you add the emotional quotient to it. So the AI with the EI is also very important. And that, I think, can certainly be done with a lot of the women entrepreneurs out there. So don't shy away from that. And, impossible is never impossible for me.
Yeah, excellent. Well, Letha, thank you so much for sharing your insights today. Is there anything else we should have that I should have asked or covered that we might have missed?
Not really. I think you've definitely kind of, covered the entire overview of who we are and what we're doing. I certainly would,
Okay.
since you had mentioned that this podcast is also in all exclusivity available to many physicians. My humble plea to them is that please try out our AI scribe, which is absolutely free. We're not asking you to become our customers immediately. We want to build your trust. We want you to be able to use it, find it. And even if it does matter for us to improve our product and make it more available and more precise for your practice or for your specialty, I think we need that review from you. So that really would matter a lot. So please do visit our website and try out the free AI scribe. And certainly very important for us to be growing as we build this. I know that there are points at where AI does hallucinate, and there could be errors and there could be concerns, but the whole idea of making it more efficient is to be able to engage with more people and more of our customers who are our clinicians and our ultimate people who really would give us the go ahead and cheer for us. That's really who we want, the support and the hand holding from them. And all I can say is that Hikigai is just an extension of your practice and never a disruption to your practice.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Lalitha. I think this has been incredibly valuable, and I know our audience will really get something out of this. But thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Thank you, David, for having me in this